Loose lips sink ships. There's many a slip between a cup and a lip. Ba-dum-bum. Loose lips sink ships. 'Cause it's not gossip if it's news. Now, just imagine Pearl's voice. In my head, I see my cartoon, um, The Art of Creation, and I'm just envisage Pearl sitting there on her couch with Doberdrexthal spilling the tea. So, oh my god, my god, oh my god, like the gossip, so, the news. So let me tell you what's been going down just in the time that I've been asleep. I woke up just after like 4:30 or something, but I've been asleep for hours. So they're all at Davros, right? Elon Musk, you know how I keep saying Elon Musk is my doppelganger and he tries to copy everything I do? He's literally at Davros and he has, and I kid you not, people, I kid you not, that's her accent, that's the way she talks. He's just told everyone at Davros that he's a time travelling alien. And I said to the king when I was working on that Noah's Ark project um, during the Super Bowl, when I saw him put up that artwork of, the blimp and everything by that Japanese artist, he'd put up that artwork. And then I started figuring out during the Super Bowl what all their plans were going to be and how they were going to steal all the gold and, yada blah. And I said then, he thinks he's an alien. When he was pretending to be linear on my Instagram, he said he was an eighth dimensional alien from a diamond planet. I kid you not. Because now they're shutting down my Instagram, aren't they? So I can't bring any of this up to say, look, see, I told you, other than the screenshots that I took and posted on like YouTube and all of that. So, yeah, so I said to the king, he thinks he's an alien. Klaus Schwab, everyone at the World Economic Forum, they think they're aliens. And they've brought in the royal family to trigger conspiracy theorists to say that the Queen is one of them. Remember I said about how we used to call her the lizard bitch, because they believe that the Queen is a reptilian alien. I'm not even joking. And now he's come out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm an alien and I'm a time traveller." But because he's my doppelganger, and I use I have a perfect balance between the subconscious and conscious mind. So every time I talk, I sound reasonable, I sound logical, I bring in doubt, I can play the devil's advocate, I always see both sides of the argument, I can use compromise and common sense, and I use scientific proof and evidence. I bring in laws. I pull up laws and I pull up information from reputable um, sources that prove everything I'm saying, because I don't lie, so I have nothing to hide, right? So then he's come out in this at this meeting and he was asked about, what do you see for the future? He's like, well, I'm a time travelling alien, in front of everyone. So because he's my doppelganger, he mimics me, but the insane version, the unhealthy, imbalanced version. He mirrors me, but he's the glitch in the matrix, if you see what I mean. When I say to people, I'm from an ancient bloodline because my ancestors remember, when we were part of the Big Bang, and, I can communicate with the conscious universe and with those who were smart enough to get off the planets, and that, I'm not saying I'm an alien at all. It's bullshit. There's no aliens walking amongst us. What I'm talking about is minerals and gas. Minerals. I can tap it. It's using genetic memory. You see, because I'm an evolutionary theorist, I studied within an inch of its life, my whole life, where we came from, why we're here, yada blah, and like where we're going with the future and what our purposes are and what we're here on earth to do as individuals and as a collective, as nations and as like like a global collective, what we're all here to do as individuals, from the micro to the macro, you know. But I tap into genetic memory, so I tap into the parts of my atomic structure that remembers the beginning of the universe that we live in, because it is all based inside the consciousness of the atom. All atoms are conscious. And if you don't believe me, I mean, gravity knows where to go. That's conscious. That shows consciousness. Gravity has a conscious awareness of where it is to go. Momentum is consciously aware of where it is meant to go. Memory holds the conscious effort of its purpose and what it's done and where it's been. It's conscious effort. Time is conscious. Time knows where to go. And that's what the basic concept of what consciousness is. It's having the memory and awareness of your purpose. And based on where you've been and where you're going, where your trajectory is, what your purpose is. And atoms, you can go on about gluons and quarks and all of that, but from an understanding where I can get into the awareness of people with who don't have degrees in physics and astrophysics and all that, just think of the atom as being made up of time at the top, gravity at the bottom, momentum to the right, time, gravity, momentum to the right and magnetism to the left, with balance in the middle. The little dot inside the atom is balance, right? And then all of that combined with whatever minerals and gases that get stuck to it then form and shape. They create like a electromagnetic static engine in the middle, and it sparks life and creates cells, and then it becomes a thing. I remember that, but that's not an alien because he doesn't understand it, so he tries to copy me, but because he doesn't understand it, the way it comes across, the way that he conveys it, just sounds insane. Whereas I can prove it on a scientific level, because everything in the universe is made up of everything that we are on this planet, animal, mineral, vegetable. And depending on the molecular structure of the atom, it will all decide what it becomes. I'm just taking a sip of my coffee. I quickly ran and got my coffee and came back to make this exclusive. So it has nothing to do with thinking you're an alien, because they're not here. They were smart enough to leave a long time ago. They're busy creating the new universe, which is why in the Quantum Menace I talk about the battle of two worlds, good versus evil, the old world versus the new world, and not the new world order, the old world versus the brand new world being birthed, the old universe that's starting to die, and the new universe that's been created, right? The battle of two worlds. The battle of two minds, the subconscious, conscious, however you want to look at it, because the universe is split into two. Everything in the universe has an equal and an opposite. So he's gone on TV to talk about how he's a time travelling alien. And I'm not a time traveller, I'm a time jumper. Because a time traveller goes from A to B, whereas I go A, C, D, F, G, M, L, Z, because I jump time. And then I pull the threads together to create a story as an oracle, as a messenger of God, to say this is what's coming, this is what's happening, this is what you need to look out for. So, and I can prove it, whereas he just comes on doing his Illuminati hand sign thing with his hands together, talking about how he's a time travelling alien, and he looks completely nuts. So, yeah. So, yeah, my doppelganger, like, how embarrassing. People on the internet are going, like, what is he on? But when they listen to me, they're like, yes, she makes sense. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Because the thing is, hang on, just remember if I go quiet, it's because I'm sipping my coffee and I really need this coffee. I'm going to make another one straight after. When you're able to tap into your body, I was listening to an advert about a yogi from India who basically says the same thing as I do, that when you have control of your mind, when you have access to your spirit, or I call it your conscious mind, it enables you to heal your body because it triggers your pineal gland, which then activates your vagus nerve in your brain, and then you're able to heal your body. So I use biorhythmic engineering and molecular chemistry and all my food in that in order to help heal my body, because I'm able to tap into the minerals and gases and vitamins and all of that that are in our universe, in our body, in our food, and turn it into things that help heal you. Hence my supernatural food brands. But because he doesn't understand any of that, even with the X and Y in physics, is wrong, because the X and Y is to do with the balance between the masculine and the feminine in the universe, which is really, really important. We ask every person who is fated to find love, they are, without knowing it, part of a greater plan to bring balance to the conscious universe so that we can all evolve evenly. And if you're gay, that just means that one of you is more feminine and one of you is more masculine. You see it all the time in gay and lesbian relationships. There's always one that, I mean, Ellen DeGeneres and her wife are a prime example of that. There's always one that's more masculine and always one that's more feminine. It's the balance of the universe, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So the X and Y of the universe is talking about the masculine feminine balance for the purpose of evolution, and it's in all atoms. So that's embarrassing what he's just done. Like, he's literally just tried to sound like me doing his Illuminati hand signal with his adrenochrome on his face, and just looked completely nuts. Now, in other news, oh my God, so you know how I've been saying about Keir Starmer, oh, Russians are coming, blah, blah, blah. I've just shown I've just shown the King an interview, an announcement that Vladimir Putin has made, where he says, I'm not targeting any NATO nations. I'm not going after anyone. It's all lies. It's all rubbish. So I've just said to the king, see? So now this whole palaver about Keir Starmer running around saying the Russians are coming, it was all lies. And I've just proven it, because I said to the king, unless you see it come from Vladimir Putin's mouth himself, unless it's coming from him directly, don't believe anything you're told, because Keir Starmer wants war to stop elections and save his reputation. And now, if this whole resignation thing is true, and he's got to get out within the next 2 weeks, he's tried to start this lie about the Russians coming in order to look like the hero, in order to look like he's, but you can't, as Prime Minister, while I'm still acting Prime Minister, if we're going to war, you can't leave and we can't hold elections. Because I bet you when he was told to resign, after the Supreme Court have found out that he's been making backdoor deals with the EU to bring us back into the EU, even though nobody wants it, the Supreme Court had actual factual evidence that he's been having secret meetings where he was bringing Great Britain back into the EU, whether people knew it, voted for it or not, right? Which is everything I said. But then they also found proof that he's been embezzling money, that he's been hiding money, which is also everything I said. And because when I did that cup of bubba tea, and I immediately got kicked off Instagram, I was talking about what? Donald Trump and Keir Starmer and that hiding money in offshore accounts, and I brought up the whole sugar daddy boy toy thing, and we know what Starmer does, and then I instantly got kicked off. So then the Supreme Court found evidence that he's been hiding money. They all are, and I said to the King, see, I told you, because the Queen said he's hiding money. Him and David Lammy and that, they're hiding money. So now Donald Trump, interestingly, speaking of cup of bubba tea, Donald Trump is now apparently suing J.P. Morgan and Chase for freezing bank accounts and getting rid of bank accounts. But J.P. Morgan have had their balls pinned to the wall by the Virgin Islands and that, who are investigating this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, because Donald Trump has $4 billion hidden in various bank accounts, one of them being on the Virgin Islands, and that Wayne James, who was a senator there, who designed the clothes for Princess Diana and that, he had his bank account frozen, and he says that he thinks it's because of his proposal for the sugar daddy's boy toy thing. But JP Morgan are trying to distance themselves from the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, because if they get caught up, because they've already been named in the whole, Epstein using Russian bank accounts and this, that and the other, and they don't want to look connected to a international pedophile trafficking ring. So I'm wondering whether Keir Starmer had money on the Virgin Islands as well, because it's all connected. And the fact that Trump's now going after JP Morgan, when JP Morgan then went to Elon Musk and said, show us what you've got on Jeffrey Epstein, and then I go and post it all on Instagram, and Instagram immediately shut me down, that means I'm onto something. So there's some connections going on there with rich people, sugar daddies, secret gays, the whole bubba thing. Like, it's all connected. And the fact that it's just, when I say stuff, I know that to most people listening, to those who don't have faith, I know it must sound really far-fetched until the news drops, and then it's like, oh my God, she was right. Because I have access to the conscious universe. It's the mind of God. The mind of the atom knows everything. And I just jump in between memories and thought and time in the past, present and future to bring these investigations together so that I can say, look, see what they're doing? And for some reason, Elon Musk thinks he's doing the same. Even when you look at the designs of everything, like his robots and Tesla and his taxis and that, they're all ripped off movies like Metropolis and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and that. He's even had people saying, you stole my idea for my taxi design and this, that and the other thing. The robot taxis that are now not going to happen. Hang on. God. I usually get myself prepared before I make these things, but this news is so scandaloso, I just had to do it before I even put my lippy on. I'm sitting here in my Jimmy Jams and my oversized t-shirt and that, just spilling the tea unapologetically. So then, but and video has also emerged from 2018 of Netanyahu talking about how they're going to take over Greenland. Yep, and remember Donald Trump was talking about it in 2016 during his first presidency. And then, of course, I showed the King evidence of Keir Starmer's military preparing for all of this stuff January, February of last year to defend Greenland. Interestingly, he showed on this map, Netanyahu, New Zealand and Australia and Fiji and that, being part of, the great plan. And I said to the King, see, I told you, they were all in on taking down the Queen. And I said to him in regards to Russia, they've been planning to take over Russia They've been planning to go after Russia since Tsar Nicholas II, because remember he was in on that dream as well. So that's how long they've been planning to take over Russia, since the Victorian era, because they wanted to take Russia and Queen Victoria down at the same time, and then they brought in typhoid, remember? And then what did they do with the Queen? They want to take the Queen and Russia down at the same time, so they brought in COVID. And remember, Netanyahu says on that video, I'm reading about how to take over the Roman Empire because we failed the first time. We failed with Queen Victoria and Tsar Nicholas and typhoid. We failed with, Queen Victoria, Tsar Nicholas and typhoid. We failed with Queen Elizabeth, Vladimir Putin and COVID, and we're going to try it again with Vladimir Putin again, King Charles and Pegasus. You know how they said it was going to kill like 600,000 people in the United Kingdom, so the NHS were preparing for it. So I was right about everything. They've been planning all of this since 1855. They can't not talk. They can't keep their mouths shut. It is part of universal law that devils and demons present themselves in the presence of God. And here I am posting all this stuff, talking to the king, and reminding him about trying to wake up inside himself how important his bloodline is, because he's a direct descendant of the King of David, who Jesus was born from, and these people are the Antichrist, and they're trying to stop the book of Revelation. So they expose themselves by talking. They can't help it. It's divine ordination that you speak your truth in the presence of God. Even the lowest life forms fear God, because they know that he holds the power to send them to hell. So the conscience confesses without them even realizing. They think, we're talking about this great plan and we're setting the stage for, a world prophecy, when in actual fact it's their conscience confessing to their sins they haven't yet committed but are planning on committing. So then I'm his messenger, I'm his right-hand man. I catch them, I thread it all together into a tapestry during my investigation, and then I lay it out as evidence to people like the King and the ICC and the world. Now, the other thing is, speaking of the Super Bowl, Trump's come along and said, we're going to take over Greenland, we're not going to have any opposition, we're not going to have to pay anything for it, and Greenland is ours, and, that's that, and blah, blah, blah. And he signed up, there's a list of all these nations. Unfortunately, Hungary and Belarus have signed up. Russia don't appear to be on the list yet, and I'm praying and praying and praying that he doesn't sign, because I'll just die of a broken heart, because all the nations that have signed up to the Board of Peace, on that message that he posted about Q, there's another Q one where they talk about taking over Greenland dating back to 2018. So this has been planned for a while, and I said to the King, we know all about Q, don't we, Your Majesty? So he's there in Davos signing up the Board of Peace, the list of all the nations. Thankfully, as yet, Russia isn't one of them, and there's a lot of countries that have said we don't want a part of this because they know how evil it is. They've put up this big architectural design thing of what the new Gaza is going to look like, and it's basically Qatar, Dubai, Miami, Sodom and Gomorrah, on the shores of the birthplace of Jesus Christ. And I said to the King, if that's not proof that the Antichrist is trying to piss all over the birthplace of our Lord and Saviour, I don't know what is. Which is why I really, really hope Russia doesn't sign up, because then he's betraying his own bloodline. He's betraying God. He's basically denying the birthplace of Jesus Christ. So I'm hoping and praying that he doesn't sign. He's paid off a big chunk of, he's bought back a big chunk of American debt. And people are suggesting he's used the money from the Board of Peace, that he's gotten from the Board of Peace to help pay it off, to cover up the fact that America is so saturated in debt now. They're running on the sniff of an oily rag because him and Elon Musk with Doge and all that, they stole everything between BlackRock and Vanguard and all of, their organisations. They've stolen everything, and he's trying to hide the fact that America has no money left. So there's suggestions that this money that he's taken for the Board of Peace, he's using to help buy back some of America's debt. And then what's happened is, it's my mango dream, I'm telling you now. Countries like Sweden and China have started dumping all their US treasuries and bringing their gold back. Germany's bringing their gold back, 100 billion in gold. China's dumped US treasuries and investing all in gold. Sweden's dumping their treasuries, and all these nations know what's going on. They can see what's going on, and they're all starting to move away because they know that if they keep working with Trump, their nations are going to tank. It's been really interesting to watch, and it's something that I said was coming. Stockpile, like 1.3 trillion American dollars was lost like in an instant. It's because people know what's coming. I said it's like, how animals get nervous around the watering hole when they sense something is near. Yeah, it's been fascinating to watch because it's everything I said. And he's trying to cover it up. His Board of Peace logo, people are saying it looks. I've put it all in my post. I'll put links in this video to them. There's going to be 4 links. It's just the New World Order logo. Sorry, I say New World Order is the United Nations logo, but where it's like America and not the world. But he's done it in purple and gold. And remember, it's the Super Bowl, how I put up that thing of him saying, Trump for a 3rd term, how they're going to completely disregard elections and just have him as a president for the 3rd time because he thinks he's a Roman emperor. In the Super Bowl flag thing, it's got him as Julius Caesar inside Caesar Palace while the Super Bowl's happening, and Julius Caesar is Caligula. And remember the whole Balawan thing, and I put all those pieces together and he's got the laurel around his head in this flag at the Super Bowl inside Caesar Palace, where he's saying he's like the Roman Emperor. Caligula, well, Caesar, Julius Caesar, but Caligula was Julius Caesar. His name was Julius Caesar. And then it's in purple and gold, which is the colours of royalty and empire. I kid you not. And I said, he thinks he's going to be the new Roman Empire and the new Roman Emperor. He thinks he's a Roman Emperor. Like he's just as crazy as Caligula. He thinks he's a Roman Emperor. And speaking of Caligula, remember Archimedes' bow? Right? I was talking about this in the Super Bowl, going back to the Noah's Ark project with Elon Musk. The solar panels that they're putting all over the planet? They're using it, with Elon Musk's satellites and all that. And Bill Gates as well. It's Elon Musk and Bill Gates that have put the stuff up in our solar system to use the solar panels like Archimedes' bow, so that they can bounce the sun's reflection off the solar panels and then to the satellites, and then use the satellites as lasers. I'm not even joking. The evidence is all there. The proof is all there. It's all there. So the solar panels are used to like kill the plantations, set fires. Where was it? Was it where did they just have that big fire? Was it Chile? The fires in Maui, which they used Archimedes' bow. I call it Archimedes' bow. And he came up with Archimedes' bow. Archimedes came up with that for Caligula to get the ships on the water. But they use it to kill off the farmlands and vegetation so nothing will grow so that they can control the food supply and start fires in places like Maui. And then they'll come along and do the same thing to Maui that they've done with, that they want to do with Gaza. But I'm telling you now, all the nations that signed up to the Board of Peace are about to suffer horrendous losses. You watch. You watch all these countries that have signed up because they have paid to feast on the literal blood of Christ. They are going to build Sodom and Gomorrah where millions of innocent people were ethnically cleansed for the purpose of putting Sodom and Gomorrah there. So any nation that signs up now, any nation that has paid, they've paid with their soul. And now they're all going to meet with God, which is why I was so upset when I found out that Russia was going to join. And now Hungary and Belarus have signed up. And I wanted to build schools. You know, I've been talking about Hungary's looking really good right now. Well, I can't now. So everything that Hungary stood up for to defend against the EU, they're now going to have to face God. Because they've literally invested in the sacrifice of millions of Palestinians on the place where our Lord and Saviour was born. And they announced all this stuff between Christmas and New Year's. Remember Starmer? And I said, really? On Christmas Day? Really? On Jesus' birthday? Really? You've threatened God on Christmas Day, on the day that we celebrate the birth of his son, our Saviour. So it just goes to prove they are the Antichrist movement. I've been right about everything. I'm just hoping and praying that Putin keeps away, because that would be a great betrayal to God, and I think he loves God too much. I know that man better than anyone. I think people think that I'm a spy, and that because I don't know how many. I know my boys back in the day told me what nations were watching me. I know China, Russia, America, Great Britain and Israel were watching me back in the day from my WordPress and that. I don't know who's watching me now. I think it's, I mean, I know it's probably still Russia and China and that, but because von der Leyen's been coming after me and they've all been trying to sabotage and target my Instagram, I know they're watching. And if von der Leyen's watching and Starmer's watching and people, and they're all talking amongst themselves with their little secret meetings and stuff, word will be getting out. And I'm not going to assume that countries like Germany and Sweden and all of that are watching everything I say, but it just, either they're sensing what's coming, or if they're listening to what I'm saying, they know I'm telling the truth. And so they don't want to be a part of what they know's about to happen, because they're starting to see the pattern of everything that I've been saying, where God is lining them all up to take them all down like dominoes, and they don't want to be a part of it. So Great Britain hasn't signed. Yvette Cooper has said, oh, we don't want to be a part of anything Putin's a part of, but Keir Starmer is on the board. He's accepted a position on the board. So he's going to be a part of the Board of Peace, whether Great Britain is or not. And I really, if the King is listening, I really hope that he forbids them from signing. He didn't go to the EU summit. He was supposed to go, but he didn't go. And then this resignation thing, and now all of a sudden they're not signing up to the Board of Peace and that. And I've just got this feeling, I'm getting goosebumps, that he's listening and he knows I'm right, and so he's starting to distance himself. Now, the other thing is, Trump's pulled out of the World Health Organization, saying they're evil and the needles are evil and blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole thing with Netanyahu coming out about, Israel's greatest invention and yada, and the whole plan to bring down the Queen. You know all about that. But he's pulled out of the World Health Organization, trying to make out like the COVID needles, they were evil and yada. Bearing in mind, he owns COVID vaccines. He bought out his own COVID vaccine. Elon Musk owns vaccines. JD Vance owns vaccines. Sunak owns vaccines. Von der Leyen, they all had their hands in the cookie jar for the vaccines, right? But now all of a sudden, oh, bad, grr, we're pulling out, they're so evil. But it's because China has announced that they have actual evidential proof that it was America that was responsible for COVID. Now, remember, who was president when COVID hit? Donald Trump. And so that he's trying to disassociate himself with the World Health Organization because he knows what's coming. When China drop that evidence, it's going to line up with everything that I've said, and then the trials are going to start. And we know where the trials end because I've told you. I saw the dream with Gates and Fauci. And it'll be people like Jacinda Ardern, Trudeau, all of them, because they were all in on it, on the plot to bring the Queen down. When he posted that message from Q during his state visit to the King, he talks about the board being set up, and public opinion and all that. And then what happens at Davos? He sets up the board of peace. And in that Q message, he's talking about playing a game of chess where he's setting up the board. So my investigations have been spot on point, to the point where it's not even by a margin of 0.5%. I've hit the bullseye right smack bang in the middle. And they've been planning to take down the royal family since 1855 as part of an anti-cross movement to rewrite the Bible and to ensure that we never get the second coming. And I'm saying, I'm wondering whether those 170 kids that they took off the Bella were a sacrifice for Davros, because that Marina Abramovich is there, with the spirit cooking. She's there, and she now works for Zelensky. And there were Ukrainians on that. Remember I said that's interesting that there were Ukrainians on that ship? And he's just been exposed for trafficking children to Turkey. Zelensky has. There's no smoke without fire. It's like when God draws my attention to something, I'm like Sagittarius, the bow of Sagittarius. I don't even think I've got any Sagittarius in my chart either, but when he needs me to focus on something, it is with the accuracy of Sagittarius's bow. The bow of Sagittarius never misses. The whole thing about the whole thing that they pulled off with the Bella One, and I was saying about Maduro, and how when I looked at Zelensky's birth chart and everything lined up to his birth chart with stuff that I had said previously, like it was scary accurate. He went to Davros and was talking about, everyone banded together to get Maduro and that, but nobody's doing it for to get Putin. And he was basically told to sit down and hurry up and finish your speech, sit down and shut up. It's because because Trump and Starmer and von der Leyen and that Lindsey Graham have already been, and that Calais or whatever her name is, have already been named as people who have been helping themselves to the Ukrainian money funding, Ukrainian war money funding pie. Um, if these nations are watching me, or word is getting around about the stuff I'm saying, it's starting to look like a lot of these nations are realizing if we don't back off, if we don't start easing up on this, we're in serious trouble with God. Because see, Switzerland released 100 billion of frozen Russian assets, and people were furious, but they were like, "Shut up." That's what I'm saying. Switzerland's looking really good to move to at the moment. And now Sweden's dropping US treasuries and distancing themselves financially. China's doing the same. Germany, Italy, and France are now starting to soften. And like Germany, the German Chancellor came out and said, I think it's time maybe we sort of sort this Russia thing out like amicably, like we can do this amicably. And then of course Macron apparently wanted to be able to go to Vladimir personally and say, you know, we can discuss this personally. They're all trying to make peace with Russia on their own without America's involvement, because it's almost like if they're not watching me, then the intuitive thing would be off the charts with how incredibly accurate I have been. It's almost like they know that if they keep going down the road they're going down, everything that is happening to the other nations that offended God is going to start happening to them. Because I've been saying Spain's going down, this country's going down, you know, and all the countries like Denmark, I said that they were going to get into trouble with God. All the nations that God has called out, you're next, you're next, you're next, it's all starting to happen. The revolution in France, it's all starting to happen, and it's almost like they're thinking, holy shit, she was telling the truth. Like, this is real. God is real. Which was my hairdryer dream. When the hairdryer, when the clouds were moving and bubbling like the hairdryer, and the tracer bullets were flying and hitting people, and they were all scattering to the four corners. They were saying, I was saying in the dream when I was documenting it, they were saying, I can't believe it turns out all this is real. Like, God is real. Like, this is real. And if we don't distance ourselves, we're screwed, sort of thing. And that's exactly what's happening. So people are starting to realise God is real, and He's here, and He's pissed, and he's heading straight to individuals now. He's not just targeting nations. He'll start targeting the nations for the ones that have signed the Board of Peace. So you start watching these countries like Qatar and Egypt, and unfortunately Belarus and Hungary, and that they're going to start suffering massive losses, and like financial losses, and horrendous things are going to start happening to their leaders and their financial sectors and all of that. Just watch. He'll go after them next, but for now he's going after all the individuals. Zelensky, Trump, Starmer, Blair, Kushner, all of them. Netanyahu, boom, pew, pew, pew. And then once they're gone, the nations will crumble. This is the biggest sin committed against God since the dawn of time. This Board of Peace and their plan to take down Russian sovereignty and the monarchy is the biggest sin committed against God since the dawn of time. He trusted these people with beautiful nations. He trusted these people to be leaders who would take their countries into the future, and they've used it to feed their own lust and greed. They're feeding on the souls of nations, innocent people of all nations, for their own bank balance. And now it's all coming out. Trump's got 4 billion hidden here. Keir Starmer's got 54 million, is it? Hidden there. Von der Leyen's taken 304 million, or is it billion? 300, I'm going to say 304 million there. Lindsey Graham's got that much there. Tony Blair's made that much, like all of it, and it's all starting to come out. And so now all these people who were against Russia are now realising, holy shit, we backed the wrong side. And if we don't pull out now, we're going down with Lucifer. Last bit of goss. Speaking of Lucifer, remember how his plane turned around? He turned up at Davros looking yellow, so and even more than his usual fat Sumer self, he's looking yellow, so his liver's packing up. He's jaundiced, so his liver's packing up, and he had fresh IV wounds. They tried to say he had his hand on the corner of a table, but you can actually see where they put the needle in his hand. And he was holding his stomach, so his liver's packing up. Apparently he's incontinent as well. So see, when the kidneys and bowels, when you start losing control of your kidneys and bowel, you're starting to slowly rot from the inside out. I know this because my sister is a palliative care nurse. And we Indigenous people, when our loved ones are dying, we gather around them and we sleep there with them day and night. We do shifts day and night. We don't leave them alone. And we know how the death process works. And as soon as the kidneys and bladder start going, you're rotting from the inside out. And he's looking yellow now, so his liver's going too. And I'm wondering whether it was his plane turning around. Remember that I was laughing, I said it, that God wants a word? Thunderstruck. I'm wondering whether he collapsed on the plane and they had to rush him back for medical treatment, which would explain why all those cars were with the sirens and lights flashing, rushing to the airport. So they're pumping him full of drugs to keep him going long enough to sign this board of peace thing, but it's not going to go through. I'm telling you now, they will not build a single thing on the shores of Gaza. Cursed be anyone who signs up to that plan. It's not, he's going to lose nations, billions. Apparently he said people gave him more than the billion. You know, he got to pay $1 billion to be a part of it. He said, oh, some people gave us more than $1 billion. They're going to lose all their money. They're not going to be very happy. All the money that they've paid, most of it is probably already gone. They're going to lose billions. Yeah, because it's not going to happen. Because they're all getting exposed. They're all going to end up in prison or getting the death penalty or dead. He's going to end up dead. Bill Gates is going to end up dead. Bill Clinton. They don't make it as far as prison, unfortunately, which is a shame. But it's because God can't wait. He's taking them straight to hell. They'll go straight to Satan because they're that evil. The really, really evil ones will just go straight to hell. But the rest will be made to suffer in prisons and that. They're saying they put Maduro on Guantanamo. Bollocks. He's probably in Israel. So, yeah, so that's the next bit to come. This is the next bit that's coming. Being held accountable in the courts of law. Because I think even a lot of these judges and that are starting to realise, holy crap. if we don't reverse this, if we don't back and start abiding by the laws of our constitutions and all of that and our oaths to God and the people, we're going to go down with Lucifer, and I'm not having that. I'm happy with my comfortable life, thank you very much. Because it's all starting to come out, and I was right about everything. So I'm not a spy. I defend the pure and innocent, I defend truth. And even though I've been retired from the whole guardian of the king and Vladimir Putin, it doesn't mean I'm not going to still defend them, because they're innocent victims in a very dangerous, evil plot to take down sovereign nations and monarchies. But Vladimir Putin and King Charles specifically are related to each other through Prince Philip, and King Charles is a descendant of the King David bloodline, who is the bloodline of Jesus Christ. And I'm God's soldier. I'm going to defend them until my last breath. Whether I'm still their guardians or not, I will be defending the truth of anyone who, where it is evident, I can play the devil's advocate. Like I'm saying about the Chancellor of Germany, Muse, however you pronounce it. I'm even softening on him because I've seen evidence of him now wanting to do the right thing with Russia. So you see what I mean? Like, if he keeps going at it, I'm going to keep charging at him like a bull with my bow and arrow of truth, or with my sword of truth. But because he's starting to soften up, I'm easing back on him. I'm still going after von der Leyen, but he's come out publicly and said, I think we can sort this Russia thing out, like we can be friends. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, so it's like, so I'm easing up on him. It doesn't mean to say that he won't be held accountable for his sins, that's between him and God, but I can play the devil's advocate. I will always defend the truth. And everything that Starmer said about the Russians are coming, blah, 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 blah. And there's going to be severe punishments, the Mirror newspaper. There's going to be severe punishments, apparently, some analyst guy. Just like how some analyst guy said, I know how Vladimir, this man's friend's sister's brother's dog walker's accountant's shopkeeper who does his hair, reckons that this is what Vladimir Putin's thinking. And I said to the king, because then social media was in a panic, and I said to the king, unless you hear it from Vladdy's mouth yourself, don't believe anything you're told. So then Starmer comes out and says the Russians are coming because he's trying to save his job. And then the Mirror comes out and says there's going to be, some analyst has said that if people don't sign up to fight in World War III, there's going to be severe punishments. Some analyst guy reckons. And I said to the king, well, I've just proven to you that Vladimir Putin says he has zero interest in coming after NATO and European nations. It's an actual video where he's like with his mouth talking, and it's not AI. And then the Mirror comes out and says this, and I said, and it's from the Mirror. I said the same newspaper that was owned by Robert Maxwell, who was encouraging Tony Blair to abolish the monarchy. So Starmer, just every time he opens his mouth, he puts his foot in it more and more and more and more. And it just makes him not just look like a liar, but an anti-monarchist and antichrist. Every time he opens his mouth now, every time these people open their mouths, I know exactly what their means and motives are, and then I can put the threads together, and then I sew this tapestry to weave it into the timeline of history in a way that when people look at it, they're like, holy crap, she was telling the truth. Holy crap, she was right. I can't believe she was right. I can't believe she knew that. I can't believe she saw that. How did she know that? How did she do that? Physics. X and Y. I was supposed to have a protector, but I used panda totem and dragon totem because that's masculine feminine, the ruler of the male and female. I had to do it myself. I had to do it all myself because I couldn't rely on the men to have my back to keep me grounded enough that I could do all of this. I shouldn't have been having to worry about people trying to poison me and evict me and kick me out and starve me and you know, take my money and my kids and all that. My protector was supposed to be the one to make sure that that was all, that I wouldn't need to worry about the stuff on the ground, so that I could just focus on the stuff that was up there, which is the X and Y. In optometry, the X and Y is the left and right eye of the universe. Also, the left and right eye. But in physics, it's the left eye and the right eye, the masculine and the feminine of the universe. Because, you know, when you're twinned, if you're a hippie and you believe in the twin soul thing, the left and right, you know, you're one half of each other. He's the left, she's the right. You're each other's balance. You're each other's, if your chromosome is X, your partner's will be Y. If your chromosome is Y, your partner will be X. The left and right, the left hand, the right hand, you work together as one person. So that's why I know it, because that's my physics, quantum magnetics, manipulating time to manifest reality. But manipulating time doesn't just mean like casting and conjuring, like I can do as an alchemist, as an elemental alchemist. It also means being able to pull the threads from the from the past, present, and future, like I've done with my investigation for the monarchy and the Noah's Ark project. I was able to take things from the past that have been documented in history to correlate them with things that are happening in the present to tell you what's going to happen in the future. And for some reason, Elon Musk thinks that that's what time traveling aliens do. So if it turns out that plane turned around because Donald Trump collapsed on the plane, then that's God wants a word, because that's what I said. That it's like God was going to strike the plane with lightning, and then I saw paramedics standing over him, and then he turns up at Davros with a brand new, fresh IV. You can actually see the hole in his left hand. And it's funny because they all thought that they were going to succeed in having one over on me. They really thought that if they all worked together, they'd be able to shut me up and shut me down. But it looks like I've got world leaders and nations, including the king, listening to little old me. Little old me. Me. Little old me. Barefoot Indigenous woman. The ones that the doctor said was nuts. I'm now commanding the attention of kings and world leaders who appear to be listening to what I'm saying because they know I'm speaking the truth. How is that a mental illness? It means I'm a good leader. It means I'm good at what I do. And all the people that came up against me and are still trying to come up against me, like shutting down my Instagram, it's because they don't want the truth getting out, because I'm waking these world leaders and kings and that up. And if they all get woken up, they start pulling back their money and keeping away from summits. And then their plan doesn't come to fruition. And they can't have that, because if it doesn't come to fruition, not only do they lose their jobs and their reputations and their money and their power, and their plans fail, but then they get hauled up into the courts and held responsible for everything they've just done. And I'm telling you now, Donald Trump is going to be held accountable for what Keir Starmer's just tried to pull off with the king. They're all involved. They're going to end up at The Hague. There's going to be war tribunals, military tribunals. They're all going to get rounded up in military trucks and police vans and everything in handcuffs and hauled off to the courts. And a lot of countries are going to bring back the death penalty just to deal with these people, because they brought in COVID to kill the Queen and wipe a few people out as well. So there you go. So spilling the tea. You see how why I had to quickly come and make my coffee and rush back and do my little loose lips exclusive. This is gonna just look so awesome on my cartoon because like people will watch it just to see like when the loose lips exclusive things come up on the show. People will watch it just to see what Pearl and Doba are going to say next because Doba's the one who reports the karmic news and Pearl's the one that spills the tea. But it's not gossip, it's news, and people have a right to know. That's what she says. I don't gossip. I am not a gossip columnist. I am a journalist, and it's people's right to know what's going on. I speak the word of God. That's her. So people will be like, oh my God. And like, there's this whole thing where I'm going to do competitions in my show. I'm not going to go on about it, but yeah, but people will sit with like paper, pen and paper, and write stuff down and then wait to see what happens in the next news flash and exclusive. And I'm going to have people glued to my cartoon. People are going to like, my viewing figures should like triple that of South Park and Family Guy. Because like people are going to be just like fascinated to see what Dober and Pearl are going to talk about. Because it's all stuff that's going to happen. It's not made up storyline. It is all telling you what's going to happen in the future. I even thought about making their the set for Loose Lips look like they were inside a crystal ball with Brehennis holding it. So yeah, God, what a morning! I've only been up a couple of hours and look at the carnage that's already been created. It's fantastic. It's like I've just watched like a game of 10-pin bowling where I've just like rolled the crystal ball and it's just knocked all these pins over. I tell thee, like who the paranormal sucks compared to the supernatural. I'm telling you now, the supernatural world is so much more exciting. It's just like on the edge of your seat stuff, clutching your pearls like, oh my God, how did she know that? How did she do that? I love it. So I'm going to go and get my second cup of coffee now. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.